Hey y'all, it's Amy. Welcome back to Called to Be Different, Reflecting Christ. Today we are going to be talking about Genesis 4, verses 6 and 7. I think that these are very important questions that we should be asking Calvinists. How do you respond to this? I have heard my Calvinistic brother tell me his response, but it didn't really help the situation. It didn't defend anything that he believed. In fact, I think all it did was make it look even more dumb, but that's just my personal opinion. If you guys are unaware of the heresy of Calvinism, it is a Protestant heresy started by John Calvin back in the 1500s. He actually took a lot of information on the writings of John Wycliffe, who was actually condemned by the church at the Council of Constance. And at this council, when they condemned all of his heresies, they actually went back and dug up his body, because he was dead at the time, and they burned him and threw him into the river. And so I just think that it is quite hilarious that, the church said, yeah, his teachings were crap. One of his teachings was actually sola scriptura, shocker, and that was condemned. And Calvin was someone who picked up on a lot of his writings, and he kind of ironed it out and really set it out as like, okay, predestination, God decrees us, we're either predestined to heaven or predestined to hell, and this is prior to us being born, so there's nothing we can do about it here on this earth. We can't accept God's call unless he irresistibly calls us, which to me makes no sense. So you're basically saying that we're his puppets and he decrees everything. If you actually look into Calvinism, all Calvinists have had to say that God decrees people being shot in the face. God decrees murder. God decrees rape. God decrees, if you've been raped, guess what? God decreed it. And I don't think that that's love, and prove me wrong, but the very essence and being we learn from Scripture, God is love. Not that he has love, but he is love. And so if God is love, then my question is, why do you keep making him evil? So in Genesis 4, verse 6, we read that the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at your door. Its desire is for you, and you must rule over it." So God is literally telling Cain that he has a choice to stop allowing his sin to devour him. Does that mean he's free from sin? No. Okay. But does that mean he has some kind of capabilities to fight that innate sense to sin? Yes. And God is telling him, you can fight it, but just know that it wants to devour you. That means completely take you over, to tear you apart limb from limb. And if we actually go on ahead, God actually protects Cain and puts protection on him and says that if anybody kills him, then they're in big trouble. Okay, so I just think that it's kind of ludicrous to say that we are totally depraved. It's ludicrous to me to say that we have to be irresistibly drawn by grace. The Catholic Church actually teaches that everyone is given sufficient grace, meaning everyone can come to Christ. In the first 30 chapters of the Catechism, it completely blows Calvinism right out of the water. And it basically just says that we can know God even by just looking outside and seeing the beauty of the world and the complexity of it. Scripture actually points to this as well, says the same thing. And Calvinists would say, no, the only way you can know God is if he enlightened you, which is a Gnostic point of view. If you don't really know what Gnosticism is, it's just where God has to give you and enlighten you with his wisdom in order for you to actually be able to respond to him. But we were actually created good in God's eyes. He says this in Genesis, that we were created very good. And yes, sin is something that taints us, but it doesn't destroy our relationship completely with God. It just breaks that perfect connection, because now we have a desire to fall into that sin. God goes on to say that we are stiff-necked people, meaning we're stubborn, and we will continue to choose sin over him, because you know what? What do we want? We want to give in to that sin. We love the desire. We love the pride. We love getting out our anger. We love just feeling like we are right. And instead of giving it over to the Lord, instead of laying everything down at his feet like he calls us to, instead of picking up our cross and following him like he calls us to, we try to pick up our own cross. We try to follow wherever we want to go. We try to do whatever we want to do, and we do not rely on God. Now, is that God's fault? Is he predestining us to be a reprobate and to never receive grace at all? No, and that's ludicrous. We read in scripture that God is love. Not that he has love, but he is love. Like, we have love. We can give love and we can receive love, but we are not just innately like perfect love. Okay, not in the sense of like what God is. We have the desires to love because we have the moral law written on our hearts. But we do still struggle with sin, and so we have to constantly bring it to the Lord. And this is what God was trying to show Cain and reveal to him, that he needed to actually give his struggles over to the Lord. He says that if you do well, will you not be accepted? Well, what does that mean? That means he has to actually fight for the Lord, because he wants to be accepted by God rather than devoured by sin. And too many times in our lives we are devoured by sin because we refuse to allow God to step in and help us in any form or fashion. We refuse to let go of our anger. We refuse to forgive. We refuse to love. We refuse to take that next step in having that conversation with somebody that is just ticking us off. And when we do that, we actually make sin worse. You know, there is a scripture in the Bible that says, do not let anger go down do not let the sun go down when you are angry. And, you know, as a married woman for 10 years, I can tell you that that is the greatest scripture, because when you harbor that hate and you go to sleep on it, it is 1000% unhelpful for your relationship. And you wake up just kind of in this really crappy mood. And typically it takes you a while to get out of that mood. And you're not innately waking up and just pointing your heart towards the Lord. You actually point it straight towards hate. And God tells us to love our neighbors and to even love our enemies. So we are to always answer with love, because that is who God is. And that is what he is trying to reveal to us, that we respond by responding to him, by responding through him. You know, Jesus says that the flesh is weak and the spirit is willing. So we desire and want to do good, but sometimes we allow our flesh to overtake us, and we allow our flesh to make decisions instead of allowing God to rise above our flesh and praying to him, staying in constant communication, like St. Paul says, with everything by prayers and supplication, give all things to God. We don't do that. So we give ourselves over to sin. And God says in Romans that the more that we do this, the more he will allow us to go to sin. And it's not because we're reprobates. It's not. It's because we are actively choosing to sin. And God, like Pharaoh, he allows us to stay wherever our hearts desire. Okay? Because that's what true love does. It doesn't force you to love somebody else. True love gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, if you don't want me, then you can have what you desire most. And unfortunately, for a lot of people in this world, they desire anything but God. But like St. Augustine said, our hearts are restless until they rest in the Lord. And that is so true. There is no Christian that has ever said a testimony that has not said that I was longing for something, I was seeking something, whether it was something in the world, whether it was sex, drugs, money, alcohol, whatever it was, that I did not find, could not complete, or could not fill myself up with. Even read Ecclesiastes. King Solomon was like, I had all the money, I had all the hoes, I had everything that I could possibly ever want, and I still felt empty because I wasn't seeking after the Lord. I was seeking after things of this world that are here today and gone tomorrow, and they will never fill us with hope, with love, with peace, with joy. Only the Lord can do that, because He is love. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.